What is up, ladies and gents, Kknowley here, and welcome to my Team AI Loadout guide. Today I'm going to walk you through the tried and tested best bot loadouts, hoping to make the definitive video on this topic, as there's a ton of speculation online around it. This comes from a lot of misinformation out there, which is understandable as we're dealing in intangibles and hidden figures. But this led to me doing some digging and setting up a little experiment to definitively answer which AI setup is the best. First off, let's start with the easy part, the crew abilities and crew boosts. These are pretty cut and dry as to which you should be running. For crew abilities, I always put quick in that first slot, massively speeding up interaction speed, which is helpful on all heists and difficulties, as well as being the only bot skill which helps when stealthing or going loud. In the second slot, I go with piercing, letting the AI shoot through armor and shields, making them stronger on harder difficulties and preventing shield enemies from maintaining all their focus and wasting their time. It's such an underrated skill. It will not only make probably the most annoying to deal with enemy type a joke, but it will also improve your bot's overall effectiveness and make up for their main issue of poor target selection. For my third bot, I equip Inspiring, the AI's instant revive skill. You might ask why this is so low down on my list. Inspire on players is amazing, so why not bots? Well, in single player it is pretty great, recharging every 2 minutes. But once we get into 2-man or 3-man lobbies, its usage drops off. This is because it occurs so seldom it's really not worth it, going up to a 6-minute recharge time in 3-man lobbies. In these situations, you'd much rather have the two abilities I placed above it that are occurring constantly than a very infrequent instant revive, if you ask me. By putting it on AI 3, this means it will only be in use when it's at its most effective, in single player, so I highly recommend this placement. The ability we don't use is Sharp-Eyed. This is because most high difficulty weapons are viable because they have great ammo pickup rates already. The only way this skill becomes particularly useful is if you're running something off meta that needs more ammo pickup. In these cases, go for it, but it's really not much of a necessity in general. For the crew boosts, I run Accelerator on AI 1, Invigorator on AI 2, and then AI 3 has a build dependent slot. Accelerator and Invigorator are pretty self-explanatory. Of course, movement and action speed increases are great and will always be doing something for you. That third slot is a little more complicated. Generally, Protector, giving 30 more armor, is your best bet, but sometimes builds won't get much out of this. So for suits, I go Distractor for some extra dodge, or Reinforcer for 60 additional health whenever I don't think Protector is going to help me with a damage breakpoint. This third slot really doesn't have a cut and dry best, but you normally can't go wrong with Protector. Now, like I said, that's the easy part. Our bots are kitted out with everything but weapons, so which weapons should you give your AI? Well, I wish I could turn around and give you a definitive answer, but sadly I can't. You see, AI weapons don't really inherit our weapon stats, and most notably, tend to suffer badly from damage drop-off over range. Basically, to balance their robotically good accuracy. So a weapon could be excellent for the AI on some heist, and pretty damn awful on the next. An example of this can be seen in the Stakeout 12 gauge. According to the long guide, the Stakeout deals 813.6 damage per second at 5 meters or closer. If you want to work out what these distances look like, I recommend using the reconnaissance sight. The Stakeout's damage falls off to 643.9 per second up to 10 meters, and after that really falls off a cliff. So without a doubt, the Stakeout 12G is the best weapon for all close quarters maps. It has great damage per shot, a strong fire rate, and hits extremely consistent headshots. I've narrowed these maps down to all basic bank heists, art gallery, cook-off, jewelry store or Ukrainian job, no mercy, curse kill room, nightclub, and also the safe house raid. On other heists outside of these, I think engagements happen at more varied ranges, so a less specialist weapon will outperform the Stakeout. Here, just for example, you saw me soloing art gallery on death sentence without really shooting. Just doing objectives and letting my AI clean house with their semi-auto shotties to demonstrate their extreme power at close range. So off to a good start, but I know it isn't going to be a very satisfying answer to the best AI setup question if I don't work out which weapon is the best overall across all ranges. So if you can't be bothered heading to the menu between every heist, especially a problem if you're playing online with just a couple of bots, then I want to look into what is the most consistently strong option. To do this, I basically narrowed it down to the 3 best weapons on paper. Using the stat sheet again from the excellent Payday 2 long guide, we can see AI weapons damage per shot, DPS and headshot rate. Unless we're talking about those close range heists I mentioned before, 3 weapons really stand out. The best shotgun is the Mosconi 12 gauge, not dropping off over range and dealing 290.8 DPS. The strongest sniper is the R93 with a mighty 464 DPS at max range, dealing double that within 25 meters. And from the LMG category, the Brenner stands out with marginally higher DPS than all the others, but with greater damage fall off than the Mosconi and R93. Now, you may expect the Thanatos to be here, and if we were just talking raw DPS, you'd be right, but for enemy health pools, the Thanatos carries a lot of wasted damage, whereas the R93 is more in that one-shot kill sweet spot with a faster fire rate to boot. So with these best-in-class weapons in mind, I decided to take the 3 of them for a spin to try and gather some more useful data in order to work out which category performs the best overall. I took them on 5 closer range maps and 5 longer range maps to try and balance out the relative statistics and get an overall power ranking. Obviously not all heists are the same length, so what we're interested in is what percentage of the group's kills a weapon gets, not the total kills they're getting per heist. I only include data from heists lasting more than 10 minutes, and all of these tests were performed on death sentence difficulty. At the end, we're going to compare and hopefully come to a conclusion on which of the 3 weapons you should set up your AI with. A quick disclaimer, this is not a perfect experiment. I do my best not to interfere, but occasionally I had to take out an enemy, particularly snipers, as they will end the heist early and obviously impact my ability to collect data. Without further ado, onto the results. Here you can see my results table for the 3 weapons, as well as the weapon which took out the most special enemies per heist. The section we're most interested in is the average kill percentage at the bottom. So, aggregated across all heists, the Mosconi contributed to 39% of the team's overall kill figure, the R93 is in second with 33%, and the Brenner is third with just 28% of the share. So, the Mosconi's the best, right? Clear and easy. Well, it's not that simple. While I was testing this, there were a few things I noticed that are just as crucial as the overall statistics. The Brenner didn't look great in this experiment, but is definitely the best weapon for killing large groups of low health enemies. This means it translates best to lower difficulties. It's also notable that the more damage you're personally doing, the better the Brenner will look. So in this test it struggled a little compared to the big burst weapons it was up against, but in regular gameplay it's more likely to pick up consistent kills. Similarly, continuous fire weapons will provide more crowd control and enemy flinching, which is unaccounted for by this test. For the R93, while it struggles to match the Mosconi's kill figures, it consistently took out the most special type enemies, suggesting if tasers, cloakers and shields are an issue for your build, bringing R93 wielding AI may simply be your best bet. Also, on very long range maps like Goat Simulator, the R93 really excelled, so consider that if you're looking to micromanage from heist to heist. In conclusion then, the Stakeout 12 gauge should be equipped to all your bots for any very close quarters map. If specials are a problem, for your specific build, go with the R93. If you plan to do difficulties other than Death Wish and Death Sentence, the Brenner's your best bet, but you can also consider a combination of the 3 if you want something more specific. All this considered, overall, I think if you're purely optimizing and don't like messing around with your AI build too frequently, all evidence would suggest 3 Mosconis are what you should be going with. For me, my current setup, unless I'm running the 3 Stakeouts, is 2 Mosconis, 1 Brenner. The idea behind this is that you have your big spike damage dealers alongside a sweeper that hopefully takes out the lower health cops and saves your Mosconi from wasting their more valuable shots on them. I think this gives you the most balanced close and long range damage supply and has consistently performed best for me across all but the very closest quarter heists. Follow this setup and combine it with the additional crew abilities and boosts we discussed earlier and you will be getting a ton more value out of your bots. And soloing, even on Death Sentence, will become a much more manageable and enjoyable task, unless you're one of those masochists who plays with their team AI turned off. Finally, if you don't think this is enough and you want even more impactful bots that can make the most of these perfect builds, check out the mods, Better Bots and Keepers, linked in the description below, and give them a try. I personally think these mods were great back in the day when the AI were just incredibly poorly programmed, and before they gave us additional buffs, but now the bots do enough work on their own, even though their unresponsiveness can be a little annoying at times, any stronger and they would be overpowered, so use these mods at your own risk. Thanks for sticking around with this video. This was one of the largest research projects I've done for Payday 2, so if you did enjoy or learn something new, I'd love if you stuck around on the channel and subscribe for more videos like this. Or simply just gave it a like and help share it around. Thank you for doing so much to support the channel recently. We're growing faster than I could imagine, so I'm doing my very best to keep you supplied with new and interesting Payday videos. Coming up this week, I'm going to be revisiting builds and helping out you console players in particular, plus work starting up on Storyline Episode 3, which I cannot wait to show you. Again, let me know what you think of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.